Hey everybody, this is Jeff. Obviously, no enhanced version of the Jeff Rubin show this week. Quite frankly, it wasn't appropriate. And beyond that, I seem to have spent most of my time putting together a Degrassi supercut, which I will discuss with the Degrassi writers in the episode you are about to listen to, starting now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Rubin show. This is Jeff Rubin, and I am very excited because today I am here with Ramona Barkert and Matt Heater, writers for Degrassi, a show whose audience is primarily teenage girls in Canada and me. Thanks for joining us, guys.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start at the beginning. For the uninitiated, what exactly is Degrassi?
It's a show about the trials and tribulations of high school life.
And it's Canadian.
And it's Canadian.
Sorry, I don't mean to define it that way. I just want everyone to understand you guys are in Toronto right now.
Yeah.
And this show has been on for a long time. There is a very rich history.
Yeah, technically this is the 30th year of Degrassi. Because there was a show before, there was The Kids of Degrassi Street, and then there was Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, the School's Out movie, and then our show, Degrassi The Next Generation.
What is a typical episode of Degrassi like? Usually there's a lesson learned. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it depends. I think the core concept of the show is the high school, Degrassi Community School, and it's all about the kids that start in grade 7 in some cases, mostly in grade 9 now, and we follow them all the way through to graduation from high school, and we see their relationships and their friendships and the problems that they face, and sometimes those are very topical issues that we tackle, and at the end of the day, you do sort of come to a resolution. I
think it's more like an issue explored than a lesson learned, because, I guess they do learn lessons, but sometimes it's the wrong one, or sometimes it goes awry.
I guess the part of Degrassi that really appeals to me, or the part that really appeals to the nerd in me, is that there is this extremely complex, very tight continuity. The show has something like 40 characters to keep track of.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Like, if you look at the cast photo of the show, like, you can't even make out faces because there's just so many people in it.
We cycle through those characters, too. Like, currently, I think, Matt, it's 20. We have 20 main characters.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, smattering of parents and teachers and sort of recurring other students that, drift in and out. But I think we have 20 main characters in the current season.
And, there's characters here who are children of the characters from the original show. Some of the characters from the original show are teachers. So there is a continuity to it, almost like X-Men or something, where you get to see where everyone's from.
Exactly, like X-Men. Exactly.
It's a whole universe.
Yeah.
The Degrassi-verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you guys get involved in writing the show? Were you a fan growing up?
Yeah. I watched it when I was 10, 11, 12, watched the junior high version. And then I was in university when the new one started, and I watched it as a curiosity. And of course, as it becomes it's addicting. I want to say guilty pleasure, but that's not fair. If you like something, you like it. And it's addicting. And then I started working at a talent agency, and some of our clients worked for the show. And when a job opened up, I applied, and I got it, and that was 5 years ago.
So you, like me, were following Degrassi in college, possibly after I don't want to say you're too old for it, because you're never too old for Degrassi, but perhaps the target audience is a little bit younger.
Yeah, I was watching it when I could. It's hard to follow anything, and when you have classes at all hours of the day. But yes, you're right.
Ramona, how did you get involved?
My history is a little more recent with the show. I also watched Junior High when I was younger, and sort of out of curiosity, just like Matt, watched the first couple seasons when Next Generation rebooted in the early 2000s. And then I sort of drifted away from it. I didn't keep up with it as much as some other writers may have. But last year a spot opened up on the writing staff, and I jumped at the opportunity to join the team. So I've only been on the show for this current season, season 11. So I'm a little newbie.
Matt, how long have you been with the show?
Since season 7, so 5 years.
When you start working on Degrassi, do you get a huge binder with the what happened in the past 30 seasons?
You get a stack of DVDs, and I went home and rewatched everything. I think I watched the entire, up to that point, 7 seasons or 6 seasons in 2 weekends.
You sound a lot like my friend Adam, but he's not getting paid for it.
Well, Matt's a pro. I just sort of decided to learn by osmosis and, listen to everybody in the room tell me what was good and what was bad and what to do. And that's how I picked everything up that way. But it is daunting to come into a show that has such a history and, the characters that have cycled through, and you're kind of constantly Wikipediaing everything and trying to track these stories that have been going on for so long. But it's fun,
I'm not sure it's helpful anymore to go back and watch them all, because it might deter us from telling new versions of stories, right?
Yeah, that's my excuse for sure. Try to come up with new stuff.
Do you ever worry about repeating yourself? Because there are only so many issues to be addressed.
We don't worry about it.
Well, not only in Degrassi, The Next Generation, or as I like to call it, Next Gen, there's characters who may be going through things that characters went through 5 years ago, but you also have the original series where a lot of the characters, alcoholic parent, suicidal friend, the bread and butter of Degrassi.
I think the thing we have going for us is that while there's a finite number of issues, there's an infinite number of teenagers. So every time we approach an issue like alcoholic parents, each character is going to deal with it differently, and that automatically gives us a different story. So even if we repeat issues, the episodes are going to be crazy different.
Yeah, and when I started at the beginning of season 11, the mantra was sort of, let's not make it about an issue, let's make it about the character, dealing with something, and that will always give you a fresh version of, the stuff that has been repeated, and the idea of just creating new characters that are, going to tackle things differently and, give us a new insight into these issues that just aren't going to go away for teenagers.
Ramona, you mentioned consulting Wikipedia. So you guys are, looking at the stuff the fans are writing to keep track of your own show.
Oh, yeah. So I meant Wikipedia in the sense sometimes there's a mention of a character in the room, and being the newer writer on the team, I kind of skulk onto my phone and go, okay, I'm nodding, yeah, totally, I totally know who you're talking about. And then I, jump on Wikipedia and go, okay, now I'm, up to speed. But yeah, there's definitely an online thing with the fans that, there's lots of stuff to read about Degrassi online. Let's just put it that way.
Speaking of all the issues raised by Degrassi, one page I noticed on the Degrassi wiki, which it sounds like you've been to, is there is a page of list of issues addressed in Degrassi. So it's every issue, like alcoholic parent or car accident, drunk driving, whatever it is, and then all the episodes that address that issue.
Wow.
Good for those people who did that.
I've found in some of my Degrassi Wikipedia reading, and I'm curious if you guys agree with this, because I read the Wikipedias for a lot of shows that I'm into, but I find the Degrassi ones, you can kind of tell that it's a younger audience, again, except for me, following the show. You can kind of see it in the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a definite distinction between sort of the, people that watch junior high or sort of early Next Generation fans who are, post 25 and up, and the current fans who are definitely teenagers. You can tell there's a different response to everything, which is always fun to see that divide.
And I think even in the Next Generation there are different waves of fans. I think there were a group that started in season 1. I think another group started sort of 6, 7, 8, and then definitely another group started in season 10. So you can sort of see those ages in the fans too.
When you say definitely another group started in season 10, how do you, working on the show, get that sense?
We started to do the show differently in season 10, where we have the summer season that's every day of the week, and then the fall season that's weekly. And it just put the show into hyperdrive in a way that it had never been. And I think a lot of people got onto the show then. We added some new characters that people really liked, and a whole new fan base blossomed. It also correlated with the rise of Twitter, which brought people together, and Tumblr.
Yeah.
So it's just a different community now.
Yeah, like I said, I've been following Degrassi since college, so I've been a fan of the show for a long time. And I've poked around for information on the internet before, and it used to be kind of a fringe thing, especially here in America. The internet's obviously, international, but the show wasn't always as big here as it is now. And you can tell that even for a casual Degrassi fan such as myself. Like you're saying, there is obviously a lot of fandom for it online right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I started on the show, I can sort of follow my history by what fan forums I would go read. Like it used to be TV.com or Television Without Pity. And then it moved into like fan forum, had some message boards, and those series of message boards or actual fan sites. And now it's just Twitter, Tumblr. You can go in real time and do a search while the show is on and hear what people are saying minute by minute.
That's actually how I found you guys and how I reached out to you, was via Twitter. How important is that for a show today to have that online presence?
I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, Matt, but I think Degrassi is a bit of an odd bird that way. Like the fans are so interested in every aspect of the show, every single thing that gets tweeted or rumored, or they're just very intense. And I don't know if a show like, I mean, Glee, I guess, too, has that kind of ardent fan base, but I don't know if it's as important that other shows' writers have access to fans. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have fun with
We're
it.
weird.
I don't know how much it benefits us. It might even hurt us, but I think if you asked our fans, some of them would say that it's necessary, the online component. Like after some episodes where people break up that they don't want to break up, the fans get together and have support sessions around it. So, I don't know that there are a lot of shows.
We can't take that away from them.
Yeah, that's a therapy thing.
Do you think it's possible that it's more necessary for a show with a younger demographic like Degrassi?
I think so. I don't think there's people watching The Good Wife, on Twitter, watching real time,
I think The Good Wife
Live
maybe,
blogging
but certainly
maybe.
shows like NCIS or something like that. I think The Good Wife has its fans.
Okay, but do you think they're live blogging?
I'm more of a Degrassi dude myself, but I think there are people out there that are into The Good Wife.
No, for sure. I just don't know if they're on Twitter.
If they're live tweeting or if they're making animated GIFs of Alicia Florrick while it's happening.
There might be. I don't know. Maybe I should go on Tumblr now and defend Good Wife fans.
So where do you guys draw, when you're coming up with a new episode for Degrassi, where do you draw inspiration from? Are you interviewing Canadian children and just picking their tiny brains?
We surveilled them. No, I'm kidding.
I have a teenage brother, and so I call him sometimes. I think we all have relatives. It's great to do a high school show because we all did a number of years of high school, 5 in Ontario. And
whoa, you guys do 5 years of high school? It's 4 in America.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, but we did when we went.
The kids overthrew the system?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, they revolted and said no more of this. Yes, we're out of here.
So, the issues change and the way issues play out change, but I think the emotions stay the same. And we do a lot of reading, a lot of newspaper articles.
Yeah.
Strange Google alerts.
Yeah. You don't want to look at our browser history, so let's just put it that way.
It feels like another way the show stays current is by, addressing current issues that obviously didn't exist in the 80s, but some of which didn't even exist when Next Gen started 10 years ago. Things like Twitter and, just the way the social media and all these and the cell phones are a part of these kids' lives. And the first episode of Next Gen, the pilot, I believe, is Emma getting abducted via the internet somehow.
Yeah, internet predator. Yeah.
So it seems like at Degrassi HQ, that was a conscious decision to bring the show back, Degrassi for a new millennium. But even now, like you're saying, especially in these last few years, you can really see how much the internet is a part of these kids' lives.
Yeah, in season 9, I got to do an episode about sexting, and I felt really fortunate to get to write about a new issue. because like it was brand new and there's no way we would have covered it before, so it was very rare.
That's
and
true.
I felt blessed.
There had been a variation of it when Manny had that naked video of herself, and I think Jay got a hold of it and he accidentally sent it to her Hollywood producer. Right?
Yeah.
That was similar to the sexting, but I guess, the cell phones made it gave it a new dimension.
Yeah,
it's more personal. Yeah.
Personal and immediate. Like
it also could spread faster. It's much more dangerous.
Yeah.
Though I seem to recall, that must not be, hold on, I'm going to open up the Degrassi Wiki. That must not be the only time the kids have sent each other naked pictures of themselves.
No, certainly not, but very technical. It was the first time that it was sexted. Phone to phone naked pictures. That was the first one.
From girlfriend to boyfriend type.
That's right.
Even back in season 1, though, you had JT and Toby getting busted looking at internet porn.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we're talking about porn and kids sending naked pictures of themselves, is that ever an issue where you have to tell these very young actors that they're going to be involved in a very mature scene?
Yeah. I mean, we don't personally have those conversations, but in a few instances, the actors go to the producers and they sit down and they have a talk. And I mean, everything is very sensitive about the actors and whatever they're up for, and what they're not. But they're all pros and they usually rise to the occasion.
They all want those big stories too, so they're always excited to have the drama happen to their character. So they're a bunch of keeners. And
it seems like this is possibly part of that season 10 shift you're talking about. Not as many adults on the show anymore. You used to have Joey and Caitlin, but now Snake's pretty much the representative for all the adults.
He's the last standing.
Not even Spike. Like now that Emma's not on the show, you don't even get to see Spike that much anymore.
Right, just because we don't go home to Snake's house very often anymore.
Was that a conscious decision where you finding people were less interested in the adults on the show?
I just think, that's before my time. Caitlin came back in season 7 for sort of a guest episode, but I just think stories naturally ran their course. I mean, I'm sure there are conscious decisions here and there, but, Craig was the connection to Joey in the next generation, and Craig moved on, so we probably weren't going to go home with Joey anymore. And Caitlin, within the world of the show, went and got famous. So it just sort of happens naturally.
Here's a question I'm really excited to ask you guys.
Okay.
What is Degrassi's #1 most go there moment? Because the end put out a list, but I disagree with a lot of it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what was on the list?
Topping their list, school shooting. Rick coming to school with a gun, Jimmy put in a wheelchair. #2, Emma's social disease. #3, Paige and Alex kissing. In your opinion, what is Degrassi's most go there moment?
For me, the most go there-iest moment for sure is Jimmy gets shot. I
agree.
I'll go back and rewatch that episode once or twice a season, just because those episodes are amazing. Yeah. It's shocking. It's shocking to, a character dies in that episode and Jimmy is paralyzed. It's shocking to have those major character shifts in any television show. And then to go back and see that it's on the show we rate for is crazy. I sort of agree with #2 there, because I think those episodes are really fun. But I don't know that #3 is as go there for me.
But, getting back to what you said about killing off characters, that's something Degrassi does often. And I think that's what makes that's why that continuity is so important. Even not killing people off, giving them a disease or breaking them up or getting someone pregnant, because there's that continuity. And when whatever the issue you're raising that week comes up, that there's stakes and that whatever happens is going to happen to this person who, you've seen on the show for a few years, and that it's going to have ramifications.
Yeah, that's right. I had listened to your Breaking Bad podcast, and you guys talked about Walter White.
Hey, careful. I'm not totally up to date there, so
no
spoilers.
Well, this is not a spoiler, but he doesn't die.
Oh, what? Okay.
Right?
But that's exactly the point. You know that Walter White, because he's on the poster and because he's the star of the show, that he's more or less safe.
Right.
And on our show, that might not be true. I mean, that's what JT dying is not in the top 3 go thereest moments.
I was just gonna say that seems odd.
I think the special may have been produced before that happened.
That makes sense.
I think it might predate it.
That also is insane.
Yeah, because that character had been on the show since episode 1. Season 6 that happened?
Yeah.
I mean, the ramifications of that were huge for all those characters, and I think that might be my top number one.
It's funny you mentioned no spoilers because I gotta admit to you guys, I'm about a year behind on Degrassi.
Like season 10 or
I'm on season 10. I'm about a year behind. I'm actively watching it, but like you said, you have this summer season now. There's 44 episodes a year. That's almost weekly.
it's insane amount of television to be catching up on it once. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually got to do it in like, I got to get my Degrassi club together and we watch it in like 5 or 6 episode spurts.
So what are you up to right now?
I just saw, Adam's been getting into a lot of trouble lately. And Adam and Fiona's relationship is just starting. I'm trying to think what happened in the last one we watched. They're all two-parters now, too.
Yeah.
It used to be the two-parter, like, if it's, you had to worry about someone not being on the show anymore. Now they're all two-parters.
Yeah, it's helped us with storytelling and production, just to do it that way.
How hard is it it's almost like a soap opera. It's not soap opera. It's obviously a little bit like a soap opera, but you're doing it weekly now, or almost weekly. Is that a strain on the storytelling?
I want to say yes, but then every year we get in there and we just come up with the story. So maybe it's helpful. Maybe it makes us come up with more. It does allow us to bring in more new characters more often, to mix things up. And
because if there's one thing Degrassi needs, it's more new characters.
We just so many new characters every week. New character. I think the one thing that the summer season has done is allowed us to tell these continuing stories over, in the viewing time, it's very short, but, we can tell a story. We can break a story, week 1 and have it sort of, resolve itself by week 7 or week 6 of the summer season. And that's basically what we've done in season 11. That, one story started at the beginning of the season and went all the way through. And we touched in on it, in major ways and in smaller ways throughout. And then we were able to kind of wrap up that storyline. Which is a way to do it a bit more in depth, I guess.
Yeah, and in season 10, you can see that too in the Claire, Eli, Fitz trouble that happens through season 10.
Oh, yeah. I'm about a few episodes past the point where Fitz had a knife, I guess. And does he come back?
Well, I don't want to ruin anything.
Okay, no spoilers. That was what we got into this with. No spoilers.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard for you guys to imagine in Canada, but sometimes some of my friends will question why I'm watching Degrassi, and I'll defend the show. And I think one aspect of the show that's really interesting is the politics of it. For instance, in America we have like Will and Grace, where the main character is like never really in a gay relationship, like never in a successful one. You certainly don't see him kissing another guy, but then Degrassi, which is a kids show from Canada, there are gay high school students kissing all the time. It's in a lot of ways more daring than a lot of the adult programming in America.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at it from a political viewpoint, I guess. But for us, we're just trying to tell honest teenage stories and be a little raw and, just be true to the characters. And we just don't censor ourselves that way. That's all.
There was an episode where Manny got an abortion. Spoiler alert for season 3. Manny got an abortion. And they didn't air the episode in America. And I had to go online and go into some soul-seek chat room and be talking to 14-year-olds hey, who's got this episode of where Manny gets an abortion? Can you send it to me? Trying to get them to send me. Because I had to know what happened.
Yeah, well, but that's
and to the End's credit, they did eventually come around and they did eventually air that episode.
Yeah, and that's interesting. In real life, sometimes 14-year-olds have abortions, I guess, right? That's a real thing that happens. And so it's strange that when it's on television, it becomes a big deal. I don't know, shouldn't we be talking about it?
Yeah, totally. I don't know what's going on in Canada, but in this country, if on a show that was really popular with kids and teens, featured a character having an abortion, it would be a huge deal. I think you're getting away with murder right now. If people knew what you were showing on the End, there'd be trouble.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think technically the last character before Manny who had an abortion on television was Maude, the B. Arthur show,
Which was a huge deal when that happened.
Huge deal, yeah. And it didn't happen again until Manny, I think.
However, I believe that someone on Grey's Anatomy this season had an abortion, a main character.
But they never have.
Yeah, but that was like the first time it's ever happened and not been a major thing.
Plus, I mean, you're having a 14 or 15-year-old girl do it, which really raises the stakes, obviously.
Yeah, but I also think it's not gratuitous. Like, those episodes are heartbreaking when you watch them.
Oh, yeah, very much so. That's a really good one because you have Emma, who Spike. This is where the continuity in following the entire series really pays off. So Emma's mom is Spike, who was in the original series. She got pregnant in the original series and decided to have Emma. Then flash forward 20 years, we're in Next Gen now, and Emma's the main character and Spike's her mom. And Emma is against the abortion because her mom was in a similar situation, and if she had aborted it, no Emma, possibly no Degrassi Next Gen.
Yeah.
Where would we be then?
Yeah.
Where?
So that's a very genuine conflict you're seeing between those two characters. And in many ways more adult than a lot of adult programming that you'd see in this country. And
now in season 10 you have, Casey and Jenna dealing with a pregnancy. Hopefully you're that far.
I do know, they're pregnant. She has not delivered the baby yet. There's been some ups and downs. I'm rooting for her, but there's been some ups and downs.
And you'll see as you continue through the rest of the season, get sort of up to speed where that goes with them. And it's, it's again a new take on an old topic about teenage pregnancy. And, I think that storyline is probably the proudest I am of the one we did last year, was that story. So, but there's always a way to do it differently from what we've done on the show before.
You can also see the Canadian politics difference in the drinking and the drugs because the drinking age is lower over there, and the drinking's a little less taboo on Degrassi than it was on, say, 90210 or Gossip Girl. Well, I don't know about Gossip Girl. Whatever the kids are watching these days, and because these kids are very close to the legal drinking age, it's not, when it comes out, it doesn't automatically mean that's what that episode's going to be about.
No. And it's funny because we, a number of times in the last couple of years, we've had, in the story room, we've had moments where characters have been drinking more than they ended up in the final episode, which seems crazy, I guess, and we always take it out and the story makes more sense in a way. Because I think you can excuse people when they're drinking. I don't know.
For their behavior,
Yeah, to me they don't drink that much, but I guess I know teenagers.
I think they should drink more.
It's true. In some ways, it doesn't represent how drunk the life of some high school students are.
Yeah.
Yes. It's hard not to turn that into a story, though. Like, when someone's drinking, it's like, okay, now what's the drinking about? And, to really explore it in an effective way. To just have someone drunk at a party played for comedy doesn't necessarily fly.
Are you writing for a purely Canadian audience? Do you ever feel like you have to America something down?
I mean, we know where our audience is in Canada and in America about the same, and then all around the world. I just think we try to be true to teenagers as best we can, as best we know, and maybe because we know more Canadian teenagers, it just feels more Canadian. So I'm not sure we America anything down.
I don't know that we necessarily focus too much on it. Sometimes we'll get a note from broadcaster, that will adjust just to make it a little more universal if it's too Canadian. But I think we're all so used to writing for the, everyone that we don't really, it's not like we're throwing too many A's or whatever into the scripts.
We talked a little bit about Degrassi's most go-there moments from the show's history. Is there a go-there moment that you wrote that you are particularly proud of?
We can. Well, mine would be from season 11. I don't want to spoil it for you, Jeff. So
you know what? Let you talk about it. I'll cover my ears. And then I just won't listen to my own podcast for a minute. It'll be fine.
Lots of great moments in season 11 that might.
No, you should say it. I don't want to it's like we're at a party and there's 5 of us and one of us hasn't watched The Wire and the other 4 just want to talk about it. I don't want to be that person for this podcast. Let's talk about Degrassi's that have already aired.
Well, Matt, you go first. Maybe you have one that is a little earlier.
No, mine are from season 11, I think.
Let's do it. I don't care. Let's talk about season 11.
Oh no, we don't want to ruin it for you.
The only aspect of the show that it ruins is that my favorite part of watching the show is when you're watching an episode and that moment when you can guess what the issue of the episode is going to be. Like when someone hey, let's play poker, deal me in, and you're like, oh my God, is this the poker episode? Or when someone's You know, when they start taking cell phone pictures and you can kind of see where it's going. I don't want to ruin that, but let's do it.
I got to write the summer finale for season 11, and that was one of my favorite things to write. And there's a violent incident at the prom, which is exciting, was fun to write. And then the episode becomes very action based around that, which is something we don't do a lot on the show.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so I did that without really spoiling that, see?
I would have been surprised if the prom wasn't violent.
Right, yeah. Well, I thought of another one that I recently have been thinking about, an episode that I wrote in season 9 that I really loved, which is it's Riley is doing lifeguarding lessons. Mm-hmm. And in the tease, we had Riley get a boner in lifeguarding class. And that was really fun to get to do. And in the same episode, Anya goes LARPing.
Oh, the LARPing one was amazing. And
I loved, there were just things in that episode that are very fun and visual and different that I was pretty proud of at the time.
The LARPing one it's great because there's been so much Degrassi that you get to see them explore every single activity. Like, this school has a Bot Wars team.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And there's an episode where Claire's like, I knew you'd put your emotions ahead of Bot Wars.
That's my episode too, I think, or that's the second part.
If you did write that one, thank you for bringing back Toby. I was really glad to see my man Toby back on the show.
We are always trying to bring people back in the room. It never works out, but we are always trying.
That's good to hear. It's always fun. It always honors that continuity when you get to see that happen. It's
really, really hard to do, but it always comes up.
And this is the thing that I think, we get some flack online for quote unquote sending people to the Degrassi Bermuda Triangle. And
Terry is there welcoming them.
It's an accepted term. Yeah. And what I think is, like, nobody goes away. They just get away from the camera.
They're not on screen.
Yeah, they still exist. They're just, like, to the left or the right of the frame. Like, they don't disappear. Their lives go on, and maybe we'll see them again.
Speaking of cameos, Drake. Is there any chance we're ever going to see Drake on this show?
Oh, for sure we're going to see him.
What is it? I mean, are you guys excited? Are you guys excited about the success of Aubrey Graham? I know him by his real name because I know him from Degrassi. I don't think I've ever heard any of his music. Is that exciting for you guys?
Oh yeah, I love it.
What was the reaction like at Degrassi HQ when he started blowing up?
I was at Degrassi HQ. I was one of the first people to sort of sound the alarm that it was happening. Because I love hip hop. I was listening to his mixtapes and, like, the very early stuff he was doing with Lil Wayne, and I was like, he's gonna be huge. He's gonna be huge. And that seemed far-fetched, sort of, because he was just our coworker and he was in the cast. And then a year later, he put out that mixtape and he was huge. I'm proud of him. I think it's awesome.
It's cool because there are a lot of kids on Degrassi that seem to have musical side projects.
Yes.
Yeah, and you get to see the kids perform a lot on the show. You guys have a lot of Battle of the Bands. So to see someone, but he was someone that wasn't even particularly musical on the show. I think he played, like, guitar or bass in Downtown Sasquatch, but you never actually saw him sing on the show, which is surprising because you see so many other characters sing.
Well, in season 7, episode 4, he raps.
Is that true?
Yeah, because Ashley's mad because Craig stole one of her songs and put it on his record without crediting her. And so she's trying and so she's trying to get things going musically, and Jimmy comes and raps. And if you haven't seen it, you should go YouTube that.
That does sound familiar. I guess I had forgot about it just because when I think of Degrassi musical performances, I think of the Battle of the Bands. I think about PMS. I think about Ashley.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Greatest band.
Zit Remedy. Who's your favorite Degrassi band?
PMS.
Wow, really? What about you, Matt?
Girl bands.
I'm into Studs. They're a later band, but their songs were fun to me.
Matt writes a lot of the songs. That's why he likes them so much.
Is that true?
I write the lyrics and sort of say what the tone is, and we've got great music guys out there who fill in the rest and actually do the work. But
you're Studs. You are Studs.
I got to write Holly J Sucks and Shared Custody, which are 2 great Studs songs.
Are Studs still around, or did they retire at the end of Degrassi Goes Hollywood?
Oh, God.
No, Peter got a drug problem.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
And they bailed on him, right? So
I recently put together a Degrassi supercut of all of the freeze frames from the final moments of the episode, because the show used to end with kind of a tender moment and then there'd be a freeze frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I put them all together in one video, but recently you guys stopped doing that.
We did.
Yeah.
I miss the freeze frames. I guess that's what I'm saying. This one is not a question. I just miss the freeze frames.
I think I don't know all the reasons for shifting away from the freeze frame, but I do think that with the faster paced, more continuous seasons, it makes more sense to fade out than freeze frame. Like when we used to do those half-hour, like really heavy issue episodes, you freeze frame because it's like this is full stop. But we really don't. Now that it's continuous and you're going to see more of the story, I just think philosophically it makes more sense to fade out.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that I like it, but I appreciate that some thought went into it anyway.
Well, I had to think it through because I missed the freeze frame.
It was a big moment.
It was a big moment in the read-throughs too, like who would get the freeze frame. That's a thing.
Oh, that's cool. That's a thing for me as a fan too.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that it's happening on the other side of this.
Did you find out statistically who had the most in your supercut?
I'm disappointed, but like I'm kind of sad now because now I have to go back and I have to find out. That's a great question.
Sorry.
It's gotta be Emma, no?
Emma's a good one. Ashley and Craig had a lot.
Yeah.
Craig was like the star of the show for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't start until season 2, so he might not. And he goes away for season 6.
That's true.
Paige could have a lot too.
Yeah, Paige is in there a bunch. I mean, there was a time when those characters were on the show, like Emma and Manny and Liberty. There was a time when they were the main it felt like they were the main characters on the show, and you followed them even after they went off to college. Now it feels a little bit more like an ensemble show, and it feels like you guys. There was a time when you were like, "How is this show gonna end?" You just follow them through college, but now there's a bit more of a farm system where you see more kids coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Degrassi are you consciously setting yourself up to go on forever?
I don't know about that, but I think there's an interesting discussion around whether to see the kids leave the school. And I think once we made the decision to make the school of Degrassi a main character and sort of stay within the walls of the school, that accidentally sets it up to go on forever.
Oops. We did follow them to college for a little bit, but that storyline seemed to have faded. And we know they're still there, but we don't. They're not major characters on the show anymore.
Yeah, it's hard too though because there aren't stakes to college like there are to high school. If you skip your class, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like nobody's going to call home.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
you can flunk out of university without anybody knowing. And
you can sleep with whoever, drink whatever,
Yeah, and if you go out and you party the night before and sleep with whoever, they're not necessarily in your class the next day. Like there's no pressure cooker to college, which is why it's so fun, but it just makes it a lot harder to tell television stories about.
Just real quick, easy question. Can you guys work in a secret message on the show that somehow acknowledges me or this podcast?
We'll absolutely do that.
Just a quick piece of code, maybe?
Do you have a preference? You want to be a teacher?
I'll let you guys. Oh my god, that'd be amazing. The teachers are interesting characters. They've been around on the show. Like Miss Kwan's been on the show. She's probably the longest tenured character on the show.
I think Coach Armstrong.
Coach Armstrong's been there a while.
Yeah. I think aside from Mr. Simpson, I think Coach Armstrong's the longest now.
Wow. And it's cool when sometimes the plots end up in his section of the world, like when he found out Liberty had dyscalculia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sorry. All right, I'm starting to like fanboy out on you guys. Maybe I should let you go. I feel like I got to plug. When can people watch Degrassi?
Degrassi, actually, there will be a special on November 18th on Teen Nick, Nowhere to Run. And then it will return for the second half of season 11 sometime in early 2012. I don't think we have a date yet, but I believe it will be February 2012, and there's 14 more episodes of season 11 coming up then.
Perhaps more importantly, where can people follow your Degrassi Writer blog and Twitter?
Our Twitter is LTDEG, and our Tumblr is F Yeah Degrassi Writers. EFF. Yeah, Degrassi Writers Tumblr.
Matt, Ramona, I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for making the time to do this. This was an unbelievable experience for me.
Yeah, no problem. It was fun.
Thanks, Jeff.
Woo! That was a fun one for me anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You can check out that supercut I put together of all the Degrassi freeze frames. I can't believe I just said that sentence, but it's true. You can check it out at my YouTube account. That is youtube.com/Jeff Rubin, where you will also find every episode of the Jeff Rubin Show. Most of them, almost all of them, in their enhanced form, which means there are pictures to go along with the audio. You can also find it on my blog, that is jeffrubin.com, on my Twitter. Obviously, I can't put the video on Twitter, it's just text, but there's a link to it or something. It's at Jeff Rubin Show. That's the Twitter account. And, of course, there's also the Facebook fan page. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll be back next week. Bye.